Hi, everybody. Brandy Joy here, and we're going to talk about death tonight. So this was requested by my community, Vibe Tribe, by somebody in my community, and it's been requested before, and I'm surprised I haven't really gone over it too much in my broadcast yet. So I think this is a good topic for this evening. A lot of people are dealing with endings right now. We have Venus conjunct the Sun, and Black Moon Lilith and Saturn and everything is hitting Capricorn. We have like 6 or 7 planets in Capricorn right now, which is Saturn, Satan, Father Time. You know, it's all about karma and connection. So this is a good time to talk about something dark. There's a lot of pressure in the air with a lot of people. And many people are surprised to hear my version of what death and the other side is about. I have studied a lot of reincarnation work. My background is regression work. I'm a hypnotist. I'm a spiritual hypnotist. So I hypnotize people and I take them to the other side. I also hypnotize people and take them into past lives. So yes, I do believe in past lives without a doubt. I'm very much about the research of things and the theories, and so even though I have certain beliefs, I am open-minded to other beliefs as well. I just kind of go with what makes the most sense and what seems to have the most empirical evidence. So, according to Michael Newton, my favorite spiritual hypnotist on the subject of research and reincarnation and the other side and death, he actually talks a lot in his 2 books, Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls, about the other side and explains it. So I'm going to give you a little bit of my version of how I see it and my experiences. So, hi everybody. Good to see you all. Before I do that, yes, I do hypnotize, not remote, but I hypnotize people on the internet here. You put the earphones on your computer, you lay down, and I do work with you online. I do that. Good evening. Okay, so when you pass on, I take people through the death experience, right? I usually take you through 2 or 3 death experiences in a session. So you'll go into this past life, and you know there'll be issues and people and trauma and things that you're experiencing. So when you're in a hypnotic state, you're not asleep, you're very aware, you're hyper aware, but it's like you're dreaming while awake. So you're very alert. A lot of people are like, wait a minute, am I really hypnotized? Because like I'm awake, right? But you are awake. You're releasing melatonin during the wake state. It's like a deep form of meditation, okay? So I hypnotize you and I take you through these past lives, and you go through the death experience. And when you go through the death experience, you know, you go out of body, your soul it's not really your soul, it's your spirit goes out of body. And when it goes out of body, it'll feel a pull, you know, and my brother calls this the arc. And, you know, you've heard of the archangels and things like that. It's like a wave that you ride on. It's like this electromagnetic current that you'll feel that pulls you. And many times spirit guides or those that you have connection with that are on the other side will come to you and try to get you to move back over to the other dimension instead of staying here on the earth plane as an astral being, which puts you into a weird state. Now, there's no such thing as time in the spirit world, right? We have time here in our earth plane, but not on the other side. So when you pass on and you don't go on the electromagnetic riding wave, it's not that you're stuck here, and it's not that it's not that you're here for a long time. It's not like, oh, I'm here for so long and I'm so confused. It's not like that. It's really about, you know, a lot of times people stick around or they'll just keep coming back to kind of watch over people they know and stuff like that. And so they're not really moving on with their progression, their evolution. they're still kind of sticking around and watching. It's not that big a deal though. But many times when we want someone to stay, they will kind of stick around. So it's good to kind of just let them go because it's time for them to move on, right? So you have certain outs that you can take when you do pass on. And when they take a certain out, let them take their out and move on to their next phase of evolution. Now, when you go on this arc and you ride this wave, you get this pull, right? You'll go into this other, I guess we could call it other dimension, right? And it's almost like a place, I guess you could say. It's a plane of existence. And this plane of existence is where the spirits are, right? It's where some could say the soul is, right? Now, when you are projected into a body, you are projecting a certain amount of your own spiritual energy into that body. It is not fully your soul leaving completely the other side and going into that body. It's projecting like a hologram, a certain amount of its energy into the body when it comes in. And when it comes in, it's not like, oh, there's conception and then all of a sudden there's like my dog. There's conception, there's like, oh my God, there's a soul there. That's not how it happens according to most researchers, according to most people that are experts in this area. What happens is your soul is on the other side, right? And it's this energy, right? This consciousness. And it projects a certain amount of that energy into that body, but it comes in kind of slowly. So you become like a hologram. And so you kind of, you come and, you kind of test it out a little bit, right? Around the mother. And you'll go into the womb and you'll come out. You'll go into the womb and you'll come out. And it helps you to kind of get into an energetic resonance with that body. Each body is going to be very different. And each animal that you get into is going to be very different. So you have to get used to the energy. And so when you are, let's say if you're a female and you're pregnant, this soul is not just like put in there and that's it. It's like, it's a projection of a soul that kind of goes in and out and kind of feels things out. And then over time, it stays in that body. Okay, let me see if we have questions. Yeah, and that's why it's the higher self. Yes, because the higher self is that soul that on the other side that is just projecting. So you can project into multiple bodies. There's different theories on this. Some say you can project in 2 or 3 bodies. That's what kind of Michael Newton says. He says the more you split, the lower your frequency in each body, which makes it more difficult. That's what his theory is. Other theories are that you could project into multiple entities in multiple universes. I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea. But you do project because you're still on the other side. Your soul, your higher self, is still on that other side. And so when you are over here, right, part of you, that main part, is still on the other plane. So it's kind of an interesting thing, right? Because now you have this soul standing there, sitting there, whatever it's doing. And so let's say your sister passes on. You're still over here in the earth plane. Your sister passes on. So your sister goes back on the arc into the other side. And now here's your sister and here's you, right? Here's you and here's your sister. Now you're still over here. So part of you is over here. The higher self is, the soul. The sister is now like sees you on the other side and says, oh, hey, there you are. But your frequency is very low over here on the plane, on the other side. Because you're projected into this body, or multiple bodies. So it's like a dim light, they describe it as. When your soul is still projected into the earth plane, you're kind of dim, and it's like you're kind of almost sleeping in a way. So, you know, you're still there. You're kind of sleeping because you are living in this illusion. You're projected into this illusion. And then you have, you know, people that pass on that go back over there and they're like, hey, you know, and really, if you're still on the other side over here, you know, they can still talk to you, right? I'm sure you've had interesting dreams with spirit guides and stuff. And when you're over there, it's like nobody really has a name. It's more just like a frequency. And frequency is interpreted into sound first. So you could have like a sound in a way. It's just a certain frequency though. And soul groups have like different colors according to their evolution, their soul evolution. So you'll start with like a certain color. And Michael Newton has the charts and stuff in his books. And, you know, he's done a ton of research on this, and he's like, okay, this soul group has this color, like a green. So this soul group is at this stage, and there's like tons of them, right? And then you can tell who's a spirit guide, because a spirit guide has a certain frequency as well, which is a certain color as we would interpret it. Okay. That's how we would interpret it, is by color, because that's how we interpret things as human animals. So would you say it's possible to live 2 of your incarnations in the same time frame? Yes. Yes, you can definitely, according to Michael Newton, you can, many people do, live 2 incarnations at a time to evolve faster. But again, that's more difficult. And you don't ever come across that other part of yourself, because it's doing its own thing and you're doing your own thing. And I'm sure you've heard of people saying, God, sometimes I dream and it's like I'm this other person. There you go. Right? Hello. Yeah, so any questions so far? And now I know I've talked to you about this a little bit before, about, you know, deja vu and everything. And that's because when you're on the other side, you're given a soul contract, right? You're given a contract kind of in a way. It's like, all right, you now are going to go back to Earth and you're going to experience the Earth realm with your soul group and some of these other soul groups that are connected to you. And when that happens, you actually, you go through like a scanning process where you scan the optional lifetime. And even though they say it's optional, I don't think it's very optional. I think they just make you think it's optional, because it's like, oh, well, you're going to do this because, you know, this is your contract. And here's another one you could possibly do. But it's pretty much the same thing, because you have the same karma to go through, right? But anyways, you'll go through a scanning process. And so the scanning process is that you'll see certain flashes, like little flashes, quick flashes of the timelines and possibilities and people that you'll run into. So when you have deja vu, the theory is from Michael Newton and that whole research area, is that you're remembering the scanning process. You're remembering the scan. You remember that. You're like, oh yeah, I remember that. And it's like an experience. So everything on the other side, the whole spirit world, is very similar to what we have developed in technology now, right? So you know how you can kind of skim through something really fast with like a video, right? It's a little more complex than that, but you know, our technology is like a plagiarism of spirit, as Seven says, Seven Bomar. He talks about that a lot, about the plagiarism of spirit. And so you go through the scanning process, and then when you come here, you'll have these little memories, these little flashes, and that's from that scanning process. Mm-hmm. Oh. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Scott. Yeah, I heard about Jim Jackson passing on. I'm not sure that I know him. He looked very familiar when I saw his picture, though. Yeah. Yeah, one of our local people here in Orlando just passed on, and yeah. So you have the idea of one soul living multiple lives at different times. We're all the same. Lakesh? What is the average lifetime cycles we usually go through? Can a person potentially draw something they have seen when hypnotized? Well, I guess it would depend on if the person can draw. If they can, then absolutely. I know that I have had experiences where, I've been hypnotized a lot, or I do meditation work or crazy dream work, and I would love to be able to draw or paint it, but I can't really. I'm not very good at that kind of thing, so I wouldn't even give it a try. Although it's just beautiful when I see it. So yeah, it's all in your mind. So Cindy, I'm not sure what you're asking me there. What is the average lifetime cycles we usually go through? I'm not sure what you're asking me there, hon. You might want to try re-asking that in a different way. But, I can look at your soul blueprint, your astrology chart, and I can tell you what you're supposed to experience, a lot about your karma, karma with your parents, for instance, things that you had to go through, that you were contracted to go through. So many times it has to do with things like, it could be abuse, for instance, that you were going to come into this lifetime and you were going to have to experience childhood abuse, and that would be a part of the experience of your soul contract. And it could be that you would be with a mother that's very amazing and very graceful with you and very generous and giving. Or it could be that you were raised in a family that's extremely rich, right? And things are given to you and given to you and given to you. So there's all these different little contracts and experiences that we go through depending on our soul contract. Now, how we deal with and how we react to those soul contracts, how we use our free will, makes your life what it is, because that's not a part of it. Your reactions and your responses and how you deal with things in the life that you make, for the most part, is your free will, the decisions you make. However, there are certain contracts and certain, like for instance, you're attracted to certain types of people, right? Or you are, you might have a lot of karma in your relationship area of your chart, or you might have a lot of karma in your career chart and you never know what to do with your life. Or it could be that your karma, which slows you down and makes you really work hard to experience the realities, could be in your self-image. Maybe you were bullied when you were young and you have a problem with appearance or something like that. All of these things you can see in the astrology chart as the soul blueprint contract. And that's why I always call the contract, I always call the astrology chart the soul blueprint, because it has to do with what your purpose is in this lifetime, your experiences. And many times, especially if you're a healer or a light worker, like many of you are that follow me, you have a very challenging blueprint. So it's not an easy one to have as a light worker, because you have to go through many hard experiences to be able to really help people in a deep, deep way, How many times do we reincarnate? Oh, yeah. Yes, Janelle, let me know if you want an astrology reading. Cindy, yes, until we learn our lessons. Yeah, I'll answer for you. That's great. Absolutely. There are some souls that stay what we consider young souls for a very, very, very long time, because they really just don't evolve and they resist it. Some souls will evolve very quickly. Some souls have more experience in different universes, so that gives them that. Some souls went to the dark side, and when a soul goes to the dark side, if they go deeper and deeper into the darkness, they will eventually dissolve back into source energy. Now, the spirit guides will try to get them to turn around and not go into the darkness. But if they can't get them to turn around through what happens, for instance, let's say that, let's say there's a mass murderer or someone that commits suicide, that's darkness, right? You go into that darkness, and when you go to the other side, you're very traumatized. And so you'll have to go into an isolation from other souls in order to re-heal. It goes through a rejuvenation process. And there's a lot of reflection. And many times when a soul does those things, they'll come back and they'll do those things again. Many times if they commit suicide in the past, they'll try it again. For some reason, they'll be drawn back into what they already did, that pattern, right? Just like we all have our patterns. So these souls, when they go into the dark, they go darker and darker. And so it becomes like a very distorted energy. And that distorted energy has to be reabsorbed back into source before it can really, you know, do anything. Because darkness, it disintegrates. It just is too distorted. It's away from where it's at. It separates more and more and more. And so darkness is separation. Oh yeah, for sure, Christine. There's actually there's entities that will feed off of your energy. Right? They're like vampires, and so they like to cause negativity in your life and ostracize people that try to help you so that they can feed off of the negative emotions. It makes them, it gives them some energy, right? And so they'll kind of feed off of that. Yeah, Sam, I actually just talked about that about 1 minute ago. Is it possible to know who you were in past life? Because I was 3. I've always been able to tell people who I was. Yeah, Tasha, I'm a regressionist. As I was talking about earlier, I can regress you into your past lives. Yeah. So how many times do we get reincarnated, and how do we know that we are going to heaven or hell? It'll be a list. How many times do we get reincarnated? Okay. So reincarnation, there's not like a limit. There's not like, oh, you're going to reincarnate 2 times or 100 times. It just kind of just happens until you get to an ascension process where you become, you know, a spirit guide, or you move on to a different universe, different plane. The thing is, we can only research so far because we are souls in the earth plane. So all we know is that other plane on the other side where it's still part of this plane. Unfortunately, we can't go further than that. Unfortunately, we are not able to go outside of our own realm. And there's very much of a hierarchy there, which freaks me out a little bit. I don't like that. I don't like that there's some weird hierarchy going on, and it's a little weird. And I'm not sure why, and I'm not sure why, you know, we only can see what we can see. So let's say that your grandmother dies, right? And then you're like, oh, I'm going to go to a medium, and we're going to talk to grandma, and we're going to get answers about, you know, being on the other side, going to heaven and hell, right? Personally, I don't believe in heaven and hell. I believe that there is a plane of existence that you go to, your energy on the other side, based on the research that I've studied. So your grandma goes to the other side or passes away, and then you're like, oh, she's my spirit guide. She's coming to me and talking to me. She's not going to tell you much because she really doesn't know anything much more than you do. She passed on. She's astral. That's what she knows. She can connect now very easily with the other souls that have passed on and spirit guides. But that's about the extent of it. And as long as she stays on this side, though, she's not going to know really. She can't tell you much more than what you could say. Now, if she goes to the other side and goes on that arc, right, then she will, you know, reflect on this life and be back around the other souls on the other side and the spirit guides and get more guidance and move on to another reincarnation. Heaven and hell, like, where does that even really come from? The Bible to me is a bunch of myths to teach you, and I think they have a lot to do with aliens that taught us, and the Sumerians and all of that. I don't really believe that there is like this the myth of this God the Father necessarily with heaven and hell. I don't necessarily believe that. I'm very gray about things. I'm very open-minded. I know that anything's possible. But based on the research that I do, the things that I do, there's a hierarchy. There's definitely stuff going on. We can only see so much. I do have a lot of experience with entities and with ghosts and, you know, things like that. Very interesting things that I don't get creeped out, but I know a lot of other people do. To me, it's just a part of the matrix that we live in, you know. So let's see what other questions we have. So is it good when I feel spirits? It's not good or bad, hun. You just got to be careful and keep protected so that you don't, you don't get a spirit attached to you that wants to feed off of you or to live through you. Many times if you, the reason we call alcohol spirits, it attracts spirits, right? Because what happens is you dissociate. You kind of go out of body. You don't have a lot of control over your body. Spirits can attach to you and start living through you. And so they'll influence you to do other things that you shouldn't do because they want to experience it. Maybe there's a drug addict that has passed on and they didn't go on the ark, and now they're looking for someone around them that also has that same problem, or someone they can influence that disassociates. And so they'll attach into that body, and then they'll influence it to do those drugs or the alcohol or have the sex or whatever it is that they want to experience, and they'll experience it through that person's human body. So that's spirit attachment. The Akashic records are unlimited, once never seen the end. Once never seen the end. I'm not really sure what that means. Yeah, the Akashic records are just the imprints of the memories of things. Are suicides and murders meant to be? That's a really good question, Jennifer. I don't believe so. I think that it's possible there's contracts out there for experiences, but I would say no to that. I would say that definitely suicides are very free will. Murders, I believe, are more than most likely free will. There could be a contract involved there. I'm not real sure. But suicides, I would definitely say, are free will based, and that's why you go into the darkness, and then you have to reflect on that. So I've studied a lot about the suicide thing with people that deal with entities, and spirit guides that pass on and the channeling, and that's free will. That's something that your spirit guides try to get you to not go into the darkness and not go into doing that. And I remember I was at one point many, many years ago, and like many light workers, was in a very, very challenging, depressed time. And I was like, I wanted to die, right? Many of us go through that. And I was like, well, I can't die because then I'm just going to come back over again. So what's the point? You kind of realize as a spiritual person that there's not a way out of your contracts. You just have to learn how to deal with it in a better way. You have to learn how to respond to life and to perceive life in a more accepting and mindful way instead of trying to break out of it, because there's really no breaking out of it. You break out and you come right back. Do you really want to do that over again and have to start all over? And there's no reason for that. I've always been able to talk to my grandma since I was 4. She was known as a spiritual woman. Most called her a witch, but I told her I was some powers on talking to people and helping them. I was left some. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Tasha, that's cool. Explain shadow people, please. Yeah, no hell, exactly. So shadow people. I think Teresa Crabtree would be a better person to talk maybe about the entities and the shadow people and stuff. I want to get her on here for an interview soon. We were talking about that the other day. She's the one that does the remote cleansing for many of you that have entities or negative energies that are affecting you. TeresaCrabtree.com. Shadow people, I'm not real sure. I don't know a whole lot about the different types of entities and why they exist. I mean, I've heard about them and I've seen shadow people. I'm not real sure though. So I don't want to try to answer something that I don't know enough about. I do know there are many types of entities, and I do know that there are ones that feed, there are ones that attach. I don't really know though. I would like to find out more myself, but sometimes when we regress people into the other side, the spirits say that they're not allowed to know things. So unfortunately, many things are veiled from us. and we're not sure why. But if anyone would like to talk to us about shadow people, I'd be very open to interviewing someone. I drink, but spirits come around. I used to get creeped out, but I've gotten used to it. Yeah, me too. Can you please explain shadow people? It was a bad time in my life. I come from around long line of alcoholics. Okay, yeah. Yeah, the alcoholism definitely attracts entities. And if you're trying to get clean from entities, they're going to make you keep drinking until you can really get the strength of your own will to overcome the drinking and to let that go. Then they'll stay attached. They'll keep your frequency low so that they can stay attached to you. You know, I've watched them do that to someone recently where, you know, I was ostracized from someone I was trying to help because, you know, the entities didn't want me to help, of course. And that's how they work. Entities are very strong in influencing the mind of some people, especially, you know, if they're on the darker path, you know, and they're drinking and they're doing things that are negative to themselves, you know, so it's unfortunate. So Christine's asking me, what if you're living with an alcoholic? Can their spirits attach to you? Absolutely they can, but it doesn't mean they will. I have lived with a few alcoholics and they didn't attach to me. In fact, it was funny the other day, Teresa and I were hanging out and she's like, how is it that you stay so clean and clear and you're around all of these very dark people with these problems, mental problems and like alcoholism and drug addictions and all of this? You know, I'm always very, I attract like a magnet a lot of people that need help and have entities and a lot of negativity and things. And that's, you know, that's just part of my contract. So I stay pretty clean and clear from it. And I think that has to do with many things, including the fact that I'm always doing spiritual work. I'm not a negative person. I don't think negatively. I actually stay very present and very mindful. And, you know, I do a lot of chakra clearing work and tantra, which is fun. And yeah, if you stay clean and clear and you have some drinks every once in a while, something like that, that's not a big deal. You know, 2 or 3 drinks. I'm not talking about 6 or 7 or 8 drinks. I'm talking about just a couple. You don't want to get yourself out of your mind where you disassociate and then they can attach to you. Because yes, they can attach to you, especially if you are weakening your energy. When you weaken, you dissociate, they can come in. Multiple personality disorder. That's entity attachment. Schizophrenia. Entities. You know, they're... one friend of mine was telling me, you know, there's hecklers and things that will really get at people and drive them kind of crazy, you know, so. So how can you tell if a spirit is attached? Okay, there's different levels of attachment. All right, so we're getting more into spiritual stuff now. So there's different levels of attachment, though. There's the kind of attachment where it's like they'll kind of influence you a little bit. Oh, you want another drink, right? And the person will be, it's almost like you're dealing with different people all the time. The more entities and the more attached something is, which means it's more of a possession type of thing, the more the person switches, right? So full-on attachment is like multiple personalities. It's like you're talking to one person, then you're talking to another person. Their eyes change. You can see their eyes change. You know, I've dealt with somebody very recently that had really bad attachments, and it was like I'm always dealing with a different person. It's like, oh, wait, that wasn't you. You said this, you did this, and it's just like totally different people. And it's not even just like 2 people. A lot of times if you have attachments, you have more than one attachment. You don't just have usually one attachment. It's usually at least 2 or 3 or more. And they'll just kind of switch, and then they'll have a lot of depression. They'll have a lot of anxiety. They'll have a lot of mood swings. They have like almost like a bipolar thing going on. Not sure what they're going to do. They're unpredictable. Alcoholism, drug addiction, things like that. Where they have addiction problems, many times they have attachments. There's a book called Exorcism that's amazing. It's a really, really good book on this. There's quite a few books, actually. I have a handbook on remote depossession. Yeah, I have a lot of resources. So if you want to message me and ask me about some of the books, just let me know. I can give you some good resources on that kind of thing. But if you do feel like, you want to help somebody get cleaned up, they will try to ostracize you, because that's what the entities will do. They'll try to ostracize you. They'll try to get you gone, But Teresa Crabtree is a great person to get, a clearing from. She's very good at it. But if the person's going to keep drinking or doing drugs or playing with dark magic and things like that, or doing negative things, then it's going to be hard for anyone to clear that person, because they, are awakening themselves. You would think that would throw off other contracts. I've had 2 NRs and offered a choice to come back. Yeah, absolutely, Christian. Yeah. Your choice. Yeah, you had the choice, so that's good. That's cool. And you made the choice to stay. Cindy says, I got a pendulum and asked today if Spirit was with me and got a hard yes, but have no idea who that was. Should I worry? Well, make sure that you feel protected, and you're not just saying, hey, everybody, so what do you think, huh? Because then all of a sudden they'll like, oh, yeah, you want to mess with me? Can I come closer? And they'll ask you, too. A lot of times they'll ask you. I've done that to me, where when I was inexperienced with it, it was like, oh, so can I come closer? And it didn't sound quite right, but I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, crap. Wrong choice there. So just be careful what you play with. It's good to have intention, to have your sacred space around you, and to set the intent that you're only going to work with your spirit guides, or you're only going to work with your higher self, Don't be afraid of it. I'm not afraid of it. Even when I do attract crazy things, I'm like, oh, crap. But, I'm not scared of it, because when you're scared, the fear is what they like. They love the fear. Don't be afraid of them. In fact, one of the things that I did was I pushed my energy out, my aura. I just pushed it out really hard, and they didn't like that, because you're pushing them away. You're like, ha, you don't have any power over me. You can make that decision. Let's see. Parasitic. Yeah. Can you give me a name of my guardian or spirit or message? No, I'm not doing free readings. Elizabeth, me too. So when they drank and died of their lifestyle, do they continue in their life now? Is that why they bother me? Okay, so when someone does drugs and drinking and passes away, yeah, a lot of times they'll stick around in the astral and they'll look for more of that. That's why they'll hang out at bars. So if you go to a bar and everybody's drinking, there's usually a lot of entities in there. There's usually a lot of entities looking to attach and to feel that feeling of drunkenness that they're so addicted to. Hopefully they go to the other side and they move on, but many times they don't when they have such a very difficult problem. How do I find out what my contract is? You can contact me if you want a reading. Schizophrenia. Yeah, I deal with a lot of schizophrenia in my life. I have a lot of people around me. OCD. Spirit guide colors. What would blue and purple be with sparkles of white and light? Oh, yeah, Kathy. Read Michael Newton's book or listen to his book on Destiny of Souls. Purple with the white and everything, that's definitely very high spirit guides. Yeah. If I drink or smoke, I can see things like moving energy and spirits. Is this normal? Yeah, absolutely. If you go into an altered state, it relaxes you and it helps you, especially if you're smoking, say, marijuana, and you have a lower frequency, that marijuana plant would have a higher frequency than you, so it would bring your frequency up. And it also helps you to release certain chemicals in the brain. So yes, when you smoke and that helps you to go into that meditative state, and then you meditate, which is channeling, yes, you can see through the veil a little more clearly. However, if you have a high frequency already and you smoke and it brings your frequency down to where you feel weird and paranoid or anxious, you shouldn't smoke, because that's bringing your frequency down. You want to raise your frequency. So some people can smoke and it raises their frequency and they can see through the veil more clearly. What's the best form of protection? The best form of protection is just your own protection. Like I do lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, which is my basic creating a circle. I also get black trail of tears. Yeah, the black trail of tears stones, and I put those around me sometimes, but you don't really need to do that. You just do aura expansion work, chakra clearing, that kind of thing will help to create that positive high frequency, you know. But you can just kind of clear your space with lesser banishing ritual. That's a banishing ritual, so it kind of clears your area. Yeah, fear and negativity, and they feed off negative energy. Yeah. Do you have to know your spirit guides to call on them? No. I mean, everyone has spirit guides, but they're not going to do anything unless you ask them. So all you have to do is ask them. Yeah. Can two spirits combine in one place? Because my friend is here too and listening, and my dad died. He drinks and feels that he has his own presence around because he has his own things that happen at the farm, like loud footsteps. But here there is items lifting and other things going on. Now you have a haunting. You need to be careful there, Amy. You definitely want to get that area cleared. And if it is him, then, have Teresa clear the area for you. Teresa will do that. TeresaCrabtree.com. She can clear it. Lifetime would have been before he can move on. Yeah. Okay, that was a little long, so I'm not going to sit here and read that one, but it was really fun chatting with you all tonight about the other side and death and reincarnation and spirits. I hope you had fun, and if you would like an astrology reading, it's still January. It's a great time to get your year reading and to see what you're going to be focusing on this year. Just let me know. I am still doing astrology readings for only $79. I have not upped my prices yet because I've been so busy. I haven't got around to it. So you're still in luck if you do want a $79 astrology reading. Usually astrology readings are a couple $100 from other people. So it's a good deal. I do evolutionary astrology, which is spiritual based. So I talk to you about your karma and your soul purpose and your past lives a little bit. If you'd like a tarot reading, I do that as well. And I also hypnotize you and take you into past lives if that is your thing. So you can join me every Monday and Wednesday night, 10 p.m. at Brandy Joy TV here on Facebook and YouTube. And if you would like to contact me, you're welcome to go to brandyjoy.com, my website, and send me a message. Or you can even contact me on Facebook. I do respond to that as well. So thanks so much for joining, everybody. You have a wonderful evening. Thanks so much for the wonderful questions and comments. That was a lot of fun. I love it when you get into it and you start talking with me. So y'all have a great night, and I will see you Monday for your Taroscope. Ah. Bye for now. Teresa Crabtree can get rid of hauntings.